usual and unlikely prospect that we can't imagine the pitch meeting to have gone in any other way. Launched on April 1st, 2014, everything about the sandboxed wonton chaos creator was tongue-in-cheek. It was never explained why we were tasked with guiding a nefarious goat around town, nor why mission goals posed as optional achievements ranged from bleating aloud on the spot to hopping over garden fences, and naturally, zipping across skies by jetpack. Goat Simulator 3, as you might expect, carries the joke forward into a new age and onto the latest hardware. Filling the hooves of a goat dressed in 6-inch stiletto black patent spike-studded heels, an inflatable pig suit, and a balloon animal crown, we can confirm is still really entertaining. The way we see it, Coffee Stain North CEO Sebastian Eriksson, is that we provide the tools to have a good time and to have fun. I think that adding multiplayer will make it easier this time too. I compare Goat Simulator 1 to being like a comedian doing their bits in front of a mirror. And in this one, the comedian actually gets to perform in front of an audience. Now, let me save you some frantic Google searching. No, you didn't miss it. There was in fact no Goat Simulator 2. In a typically unorthodox, typically Goat Simulator move, Coffee Stain Studios has skipped from 2014's Goat Simulator straight to its upcoming Goat Simulator 3. As with many cult classics, dedicated players are often not only willing to overlook perceived rough edges, but embrace them. For example, 2010 Horror Mission is a game whose fans swear by its imperfections, to the point where Swery's Twin Peaks-inspired Scare 'em Up just wouldn't feel the same without its clumsy dialogue, awkward controls, and unwieldy driving mechanics. The trajectory of Goat Simulator over the last several years has been much to the same. It is far from the smoothest, most polished experience by any means, but that somehow only elevates its charm. With Goat Simulator 3, some of that has inevitably been lost, but during our hands-on time at Gamescom, Eriksson stresses keeping in some bugs, assuming they add comedic value or don't break the game entirely, was a crucial consideration during development. He says, when we have bugs that we think are funny, we usually lean into them. Sometimes bugs that builds on a planned feature, or they can become something else that we didn't plan at all. But it's definitely become harder to know where to put the bar. We actually want to make a really good game. We don't want a buggy mess. We want our game to be fun and funny, and not annoying to our players. As such, there have been a lot of discussions about what's good enough, what's a good bug, and what can be kept within reason. In practice, this might see minor wall clipping as you ragdoll your way to the top of a smokestack to claim a jetpack. It might see you lose control of a burning fire engine originally set to extinguish a gas station blaze. It might even see the ball being forced to respawn in a game of headbutting football after getting stuck behind a tree. The latter is one of several online minigames that Goat Simulator 3 introduces, which once discovered can be activated anywhere throughout its sprawling sandbox. Events, on the other hand, vary in size and scope. Eriksson says there are hundreds and hundreds of bite-sized Easter eggs to be uncovered, while larger, more significant and sophisticated situations can impact entire sessions. The first Goat Simulator was like a 1-hour game. Goat Simulator 3 is more like a 30-hour game. On the cosmetics front, Goat Simulator 3 has over 350 items that can switch up your look and in some cases your abilities. After completing a minigame that saw the goat grabbing bags of fertilizer with its tongue and dragging them over seedlings in soil, the goat gets to grow huge Jack and the Beanstalk style plant towers on the spot simply by bleating. Besides being absolutely batshit preposterous, you're then able to grow and climb each construct hundreds of meters into the air, perfect for getting a lay of the land. Later, after some electrocution on an exposed power line, you're then able to shoot bolts of electricity from your nose, whereas inadvertently setting alight in the aforementioned gas station disaster, you gain the ability to hurl fireballs from your mouth, like some twisted, hollow-horned dragon. All of which adds to Goat Simulator 3's most redeeming features, choice and discovery. We barely scratched the surface during the Gamescom 2022 hands-on time, but this is a world that begs to be explored, in single-player and with pals. Eriksson posits players who band together will enjoy uncovering new areas, minigames, and Easter eggs together, be that in friendly or competitive terms. We can definitely see a few friendships being tested in the game's more competitive set pieces, but the wealth of options that this game boasts over its forerunner really seems impressive at this stage. Not everything will make it into the final game, of course, but it's due on November 17th, 2022. However, Eriksson has more up their sleeve, assuming would-be players flock to the sequel in the same way they did the first game in 2014. Eriksson adds, that's exactly why it took so long to get Goat Simulator 3 to where it is today. We had too many cool ideas, but we didn't want to limit ourselves in the ideas that we could bring into the game, and so the scope kind of became bigger and bigger. We didn't have a line or a goal that we wanted to hit. We just wanted to make a really big sandbox. And once we had that, we really wanted to fill it back to the brim with good content. And to make a really nice dynamic place to play around with even after all the content is completed. At one point though, we had to say we should probably release the game. We've had and continue to have a bunch of new ideas that we are probably going to do. Well, I mean, that depends on what people like about the game, on what we see people enjoying the most, and actually whether or not they like goats. We of course hope they do. Let us know if you'll pick up the second installment in the Goat Simulator series.